everybody, what's up? I want to jump on today to start off this new vlog series on here to talk about the new book that I'm working on. And I want to talk about some upcoming projects as well. And so, if you know me and my work, I've been at this for about 34 years now. I have students in 70 different countries for my teaching endeavors, and it's been a wild ride, I'll tell you that. And so the goal, for starters, is to go ahead and kind of reflect on my old work because if you don't know, if you followed my journey for a while, basically it comes down to the fact that I've been separated from my work. And so being separated from your work, let me elaborate a little bit. So back in 2019, I left New York City and I went back to Michigan, back to my home. And when I went back home, I spent the whole elaborated thing of COVID basically like in lockdown. I wasn't shooting, I was really just creating in different mediums on there to go ahead and explore something because I was bored. And so I started learning woodworking and I started learning knife making and things like that. I cleaned out my grandpa's old shop and I started making things in that. Now, one thing, I needed photographs. And so one thing led to the next, and I started making photographs of my work. That got me back to the camera again. That got me back on the horse and kicking again. And so I started making photographs just for myself, and that led me to meet my now wife, and we live in Colombia. We got married in Colombia, all that good stuff. And so in Colombia, I've been here for about 2 years now, and I've been separated from my archives. Haven't had access to the hard drives, like all the famous stuff, whatever. It's not really that famous to me, it's just work. And so I'll talk about that in future episodes of this as well. But what I want to talk about is how it led to me to this moment. And so in this moment, I've got 5 books that are out there in the world. If you're a photographer and you create a book, awesome. It's a great experience. It lets you reflect on your work, lets you publish your work, get it out there in the world and stuff. Everybody goes, wow, you have 5 books? I mean, it's cool, but it doesn't really make you a living, so to speak. A lot of photographers, quite frankly, are quite lucky to go ahead and break even on book projects because you put a lot of money into self-publishing, like I have with my books at least, and it doesn't really come back that easy is what I've got to say about it. If you go with an actual publisher, I mean, they're going to put a lot of money into it, but they're going to take money out of your royalties and things like that. And so you choose the path that you want to take, basically. And so I'm going on to book number 6. It's going to be called From Then Till Now. And what I'm doing is I'm re-exploring my old work. And so I'm going to start with book number 1 and go all the way through to book number 5. And then I'm going to show some new work as well. I'm going to talk about like how I elaborated along the way, how the process changed me, things like that. I'm going to be telling all the old stories on there, some of the stories y'all have never heard before. I remember just showing the work in the books on there, and I was just like, wow, this is the photograph. And I want to let the photograph speak for itself. But sometimes, like Dwayne Michaels comes up, for example. If you've never seen the work of Dwayne Michaels, go check out Dwayne Michaels' work. He's an amazing photographer. He used to combine words with image. And so that's kind of the route that I'm taking now. And I had a professor way back in college that sent me down that path as well. And he's like, you should combine words with image. And I'm like, nah, I just want to be a photographer. But he is right. And so I'll give him props on that. But I'm going to be combining words with image. I'm going to tell my story about the image. I'm going to go ahead and put the image out there. And I have a brand new, really cool thing. I'm going to be combining this with ChatGPT. Now, if you never heard of ChatGPT before, it's an AI thing. And so you can type anything into the search engine on there called ChatGPT. And it's artificial intelligence where it kicks you back an answer. The really cool thing is in the last couple weeks, the new image analyzation technology came out on this. And so I was like, whoa, I was always wondering how to like write better captions on social medias and stuff like that, for example. I always struggled with that. I'm just like, I suck at writing social media captions and stuff like that. And so one of my friends back in the day said, oh, you're not that funny or whatever, and you're just like holding yourself back and publishing on social media and you aren't yourself and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. So I was always trying to come up with a better way to write social media captions. And what I did in the last couple of days is I tested this out. I loaded a couple of my images into ChatGPT. It looks at the images, analyzes the images, and tells you exactly what's in the image. And then you can train the model on there to go ahead and tell you different things about your work, like critique, or you could go ahead and talk about color theory, like whatever you want to do, basically. It's really cool. And I've only scratched the tip of the iceberg on this. I'll be talking about this on socials and stuff like that. So if you're not following me on Instagram, it's charlienaebeck.co. Also, Coffee X Cameras series is the one for Coffee X Cameras on there as well. Excuse me. And then if you go over to like Facebook, it's Charlie Naebeck Co. with no period on that one. You go on here on YouTube, please subscribe, like, all that good stuff, because I'm going to be sharing a whole journey with you. And then also, I got a TikTok account. I think TikTok has been the bane of my existence for the longest time because I hate all the people that are out there like fake and false and like this isn't me. Like, this is so not me. And so I'm going to keep this authentic. I'm going to keep it real. You're going to hear some F-bombs along the way, like the whole kit and caboodle. I'm just going to do it as it is, basically, like I do all my stuff. Like y'all see me off camera, I'm real. I'm authentic. I'm going to be that way on camera too, so I'm hoping to keep that along the way. But I fought TikTok for the longest time, and if you want to go follow me on TikTok, it's brand new. I think I have something like 17 followers today or whatever. Thank you to those random souls out there that have been kind enough to find whatever I'm doing in there at the moment and to start following me. So it's Coffee X Cameras. Simple as that. I post up daily content and everything, and I'm going to be doing that throughout the book project as well. But I'm going to be talking about my story versus the work versus the ChatGPT analysis and critique. One thing I'm really interested in with ChatGPT is to train it in the eyes of my mentors or my heroes, so to speak, on here. Because like I had several professors along the way that had actually set me on my path, so to speak, and I'm really grateful for that. I'd like to go ahead and train the model to go ahead and look at it through their eyes, and I'd also like to train it through the eyes of my heroes. Like, for example, when I lived and worked in New York City, I had the pleasure of meeting Robert Frank. I was walking down Bleecker Street one day, and I look over and I'm like, hey, that's Robert Frank. I tell my friend I'm walking with, I'm like, hey, that's Robert Frank over there. He was sitting right there on Bleecker on a standpipe right next to his house with his shirt unbuttoned and his world famous Leica camera around his neck. And I'm like, that's Robert Frank. I had to explain who he was to my friend. But I became fast friends with him and got to hang out with him over the time that we had for a couple of years before he passed away, sadly. And I got to learn a lot. And so those are the kind of things that I wanted to go ahead and train the model on, is how to look at it through the eyes of Robert Frank, how to give me further critique, things like that. Because as photographers, I mean, I've been doing this for like 34 years now. And as photographers, if you think you know it all, you don't. Simple as that. Always be open to learning, always be open to adventures, always keep shooting and experimenting till the cows come home and hunt someone. There's what I'm going to tell you. Because, I mean, it never ends. It's a journey. It's never a destination. Simple as that. And so there's a lot of people that came into my classes over the year. Like, I remember one guy exclusively. This guy said, hey, I just want to make cool things for the gram. I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean to make cool things for the gram? If you're only making it for likes for others, I think you're missing out on a lot, quite frankly, to be honest. And if you come into any of my classes, like I do one-on-one mentorships on Zoom, and I'm doing this mentorship program for a year, I'm taking on 10 people. 2 seats are already filled, so like if you want to jump in on it, I've got 8 left. It's a year-long mentorship program where I'll take you through making your book, or I'll take you through like learning photography better. I'll take you through photography business, life coaching, things like that on there. But that's a side note on there. It all boils down to authenticity, because like my current people I'm mentoring at the moment and doing work with as my students and stuff, I mean, I'm honest with them. I'm real. I'm like, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm going to be real with you. And so that kind of thing comes into play with my new book as well, is the fact that I'm going to be real. So I'm pretty excited about this. See where it goes. But anyways, I want to do these video vlogs, as we call them, or vlogs, whatever y'all want to say out there. And I want to go ahead and keep you up to date. So today's day one. I kind of started playing with the format a little bit yesterday, and I've got about 35 pages already started on this. And so I've got the work. I'm starting with glimpses. If you're all unfamiliar with glimpses, you can go over to my website on coffeexcameras.com, and you can download the ebook there. It's like $19.99 or whatever it is and stuff like that, but you can go ahead and check out the work. In the new book, I'm going to be telling all the stories, which will go ahead and add to that. And it's going to take it to a different level, because when you go and make a book, basically, or like when you go and make work, always keep your archives is my suggestion, because when you look back at it, you think about it now very differently than you did when you made it in the first place in there. And even like one of my images, I have a photo of a homeless man This is in my Ink Crossing book as well. I have a photo of a homeless man where I made a portrait of him on the streets of New York City when my students and I were out and about on 14th Street. This guy comes up and he's like, "Hey man, you have $1 for a cheeseburger?" And all my students were uncomfortable and I was trying to get them to do their assignment and all that good stuff. So I pulled him away and I drew fire for the crowd, so to speak. And I'm like, "Hey, I'll give you $1 if you pose for me for a portrait." He lit up like a Christmas tree and he gave me the biggest smile I've ever seen on anyone. And he's like, "Hey man, you just helped me out so good, and I'll be right over there at McDonald's, and you can find me over there if you need any more pictures." And I'm like, "Cool." And so it's that kind of thing on there. When you think about that authenticity in comparison to the work that I did in Glimpses on there, Glimpses I was just riffing. I was shooting anything that touched my head, my heart, and my gut, basically. And that's that authenticity thing. Is it popular to everyone? Is it for everyone? Absolutely not. There's going to come to a fine line on here where you're either going to like the work, you're going to not like the work, or you're going to be indifferent about it. And that's fine. That's your choice out there, basically. But when you go look at the work in there, I want you to take away a little something each day as I go ahead and post up the new work and maybe learn and grow from it. If you need any help along the way, I do one-on-one classes as well on Zoom. And so I do 1 hour sessions. I got like a 6 hour, 12 hour, 24 hour package and stuff like that where you can break it up into different lessons on there as well. Or we can schedule as you need on there. So stuff like that comes into play as well. So again, I'm going to be doing these daily vlogs and I'm going to keep it real. It's probably going to get wordy. It's probably going to go ahead and have mistakes. Like we have animals here in Colombia. We have pets. And so we have 2 dogs and a cat. And you're going to hear them in the background. You're going to hear Colombian music in the background. You're going to hear all sorts of stuff. But again, authenticity is where it lies. And so that's what it's going to be. Let's go. Let's go ahead and kick off day 1 on this. I'm going to go ahead and get to work on the book. And tomorrow on day 2, I'm going to tell you my progress. I'm going to talk about some of the work and share some of the work with you. And we'll go from there. Let me know what y'all think about these ideas in the comments below. Please go ahead and like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps us out to grow this project on here as well. And if you haven't already, go over to coffeexcameras.com and you can go over there. We have coffee on this side. I'm going to go ahead and plug this as well real quick. When we moved down here to Colombia, my brother-in-law has a farm right down here in Colombia, and we went out to the farm, and he grows coffee plants. It is the freshest, best coffee I have ever had. And so I got into importing coffee into the United States. You can go to coffeexcameras.com. You can get the coffee there. We have a bunch of different roasts and all that good stuff. But we're definitely going to need some coffee for this project is what I'm going to say. And so this is what you're going to see along the way. Coffee makes everything possible. And so we're going to go from there. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now. Let's see what day 2 brings. So let's go. Thanks for being here, by the way.